Don't cry for my battered prostate. The truth is I barely felt it, though you do get harder when you're inside me, oh battered prostate. I've forgotten the next bit. So what do you think? Is it going to be a hit?
Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission, unless we are cancelled and replaced by something far superior, to review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence, to seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable, to boldly go where many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers. What am I going to say? This is Trekking Up North. Take two.
Is it really?
This is Trekking Up North.
It's not just Trekking Up North, though, is it, Goodwill? It's episode 69.
Nice.
Nice.
I should not have done this. Welcome to this week's Trekking Up North, episode 69. Nice. I am Captain Goodwill, and joining me as ever is the delectable Geesian from the planet Honka.
I'm doing a staccato one this time. Honk. Honk.
Yeah. It's Science Officer Synoiz.
It's me. Hello, everyone.
We
had a right laugh before this started.
Yes,
I was panicking. As you can probably tell, this is a pre-recorded episode. Despite last week, us being like, "Hey, we'll totally be live next week," and then naturally, as soon as we ended the show, I looked at my diary and I was like, "That was a lie." I was just like, "Okay, not going to be here next week."
He blue-balled us.
Well, speaking of blue balls, this episode. No, but before we started, I had to order some business cards, and then and while we were doing it, we were just chatting on and just coming up with the most terrible stuff. And I'm red in the face because I've been laughing so much at the nonsense we've been coming out with before the show. So yes, but how appropriate is it on episode 69 to get this episode that is basically possibly the most sexual episode of Voyager? Like Voyager didn't have like a whole,
you got
sex
sexually
virus.
You got sexually aroused in my body.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I wrote that line. I've got 2 lines in massive. No, I've got 3 lines in my notes in capitals, and that's blue balls Tuvok, and then you became sexually aroused in my body, and then another one that's just like, and then Neelix. But yeah, so we'll get to that. But
before we do, though. Before we do, we set out a little competition for fun last week on our last episode of Trekking Up North. It was a meme competition. I do love a meme competition. The goal was to send me your funniest Star Trek memes on the Nerdy Up North Discord. Bonus points for originality. And, oh boy, were we not disappointed?
Considering that we are recording this on Tuesday, okay, like merely sort of 3 or 4 days after the actual episode went out, and we had so many memes. Like that Discord channel is just full to the brim with memes, and we've had to pick stuff out. I was just like, oh, we're not going to have that many if we have to record this early. I was wrong.
Yeah, you were very wrong. I chose the top 10, I believe. 10? Did I choose 10? Yes, top 10 every week. Shall we go to the meme wall?
The meme wall. Oh, we should have put you put elevator music on it. We should have put the gallery music on it. So it's like boo 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 boo.
I know, but I didn't want to be demonetized.
Well, if I haven't done it already, we're doing something wrong.
That's
if we're actually earning from this episode after starting with don't
Don't
I can't
cry
even
for my battered prostate. The truth is, I never felt it.
We
The
are
one
children,
time I
Goodwill.
sing right.
We are absolute children.
The one time I sing in key, and I'm talking about battered prostate. Okay, shall we go to the meme wall?
Yep, gone. My body is ready.
Incoming transmission.
Miles?
This is what computers were made for. To show off these memes. Look at it.
Here we go.
I love it.
I've got the elevator music in the background. Can anyone hear it?
Hopefully.
There we go. Yes.
There we go. I love it. Synoiz,
so
this is the original. Synoiz makes flirtatious remarks towards Lee and Adam.
Yep, this is from Lee. So well done, Lee, for an original Trek meme. Someone says, fuck the Tories. The Trekkin boys go off on a 20-minute tangent. And I'm sat there and I'm like, only 20 minutes? Come on.
I feel incredibly seen by this. This is like going, oh wow, we've just deconstructed our entire fucking podcast in 4 panels.
I really hope the audio is coming through for this, because if not, we're going to have to record this entire segment again. But okay, let's go on to the next one. Come on, there we go.
Oh, I can't see it. I can't see it
loading.
yet.
It's loading.
It's loading. It's a picture,
slideshow.
Goodwill.
It's on a slideshow.
Oh, okay, there we go.
All Trek is good. All Trek is good. Trek says Goodwill. Goodwill watching Code of Honor.
Yeah. It's accurate though. You can't be doing your goody two shoes on like Instagram and Twitter and stuff, being like, oh, all Trek is good Trek, and then be like, please don't let us get Code of Honor. It's the exception that proves the rule.
Code of Honor is shit. Next slide, please. I should have really spent
One day we'll get it.
So yeah, the Doctor reads her dead grandma's sex diary and shags a candle ghost.
So this is a Denny's.
So the previous one was Chris. Can you guess who did this one?
Is this
right,
Amy?
It was Chris. No,
It was Chris again. There we go.
Chris again. Chris has had fun this week. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to the next one.
I love this.
God damn, this is funny. Come on, speed up. There we go. Synoiz spinning the double wheel, hoping for Code of Honor. I got you, brother. Oh no, you don't.
This is so accurate. This is amazing.
I believe this was Chris again.
This is great. This is absolutely amazing. Like Code of Honor, man. It's so accurate. It's me just being like, come on, you are valid. Let's review you, and you're like, fuck off. Yeah. Perfect meme. Perfect
meme. I wish to be irresistible to Goodwill. Poof. Yes. 100%.
Turns into Anson Mount Me.
Anson Mount Me / Anson Mounty. If I ever get my due south. If I ever see him at Destiny Trek or STLV. Actual footage of Tim Russ escaping Goodwill's boot, episode 69. Thank you, Amy.
This is a specific reference to last week's episode about us kidnapping Tim Russ for this episode.
It's so specific. They went through my Facebook, pulled a picture of my actual car.
Is it?
And then photoshopped Tim Russ escaping. Bonus points, though, really. Bonus points for censoring the number plate.
Yes. And then just take that world.
Like, yeah, bonus points for doing that, Amy. And also having the Trekkin Up North logo in
That's
there.
brilliant.
It's all about branding. ABP, as we say, always be plugging. Her, I bet he's thinking about another woman. Him, I can't believe Trekkin Up North said candle slag that many times.
We should have an episode where we just rewatch the Candle Slag episode again and drink every time we mention hashtag Candle Slag.
We should do. We should do the,
that would be meta as fuck.
We should do the Trekkin Up North drinking game.
Oh no.
Where
Lee pretty much defined it earlier. Where it's like drink whenever it's fuck the Tories. Drink whenever I make a lewd remark.
I really hope my mic's been coming through. If not, we may have to start again.
Okay, that's cool.
So moving on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Come
when
on.
it thinks about it.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
This is another original from Lee. It's time for the Dabble Wheel. What episode are you hoping for next week? Oh, definitely Code of Honor. I will end you, Kirk.
This is to be fair, I love this. This is a really good one, but it would have worked having our faces photoshopped onto it. To be fair, although we do get to see some beautiful men in this photo, in this meme, so I'm happy.
We absolutely do. Ethan Peckney. Incidentally, the Clone Star boys do have his dad on this week's Clone Star.
That could have gone so differently. That's
what happens on the holodeck stays on the holodeck. So we got confused with this one from Amy, but then we realised it's head canon.
Yeah.
So it's like catchphrase, trying to say what you see.
And at least it's not like Mr. Chips wanking or something, you know? It's like...
Oh.
But I was really confused by this because I was just like, why is my tie so funky? Like, it's not, it's a match. Oh, I thought it was a tie. I was looking at it being like, why have I got this massive gold tie? And it's not,
It's a match because you're firing my head towards the 7 Chakotay.
I love it. It's a
Amy.
good one.
Finally, another Amy. To seek out stronger beans and better baristas, to boldly go where no coffee addict has gone before. I'm going to give Amy massive bonus points for the ginormous Sports Direct mug, which is so northern.
Yeah, this is one of these things where I'm just like, will any of our viewership who don't actually live in the north get this gag? But it's the fact that the only receptacle bigger than God. Receptacle is like a type of transformer, I think. It's basically a transformer you can drink out of.
This is brilliant. Thank you so much to Lee, Chris, and Amy for the memes this week, and everyone else who submitted memes. Hopefully next week you
Keep
can
them
make
coming.
the cut. I really hope that my microphone came through there. If it didn't, I have to do that entire segment again. But
That's
I'm
fine.
a good
We
editor,
can
so
listen
it's fine.
back when we've finished, and if not, we'll do it. So that's the thing. You're not going to know, viewer. You're not going to know whether that worked properly. Whatever's going to happen, you're going to see that working, and maybe it worked first time. Maybe it's a re-recorded version. You just won't know, unless I'm an idiot, and when we re-record, I blatantly say,
"Yeah, maybe it'll be so seamless that we just move on." Anyway,
it's not going to be Goodwill. It's never seamless.
Shut up.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your fucking mouth. Anyway, we are here tonight to review a lovely Star Trek Voyager episode from season 7 called Body and Soul. And very much like last week's episode Fusion from Star Trek Enterprise, there is an element of violation.
Oh my.
Persons. But yeah, the brief synopsis that we get for this episode is: when the Delta Flyer is attacked, the Doctor must hide his program in Seven's Borg implants. Meanwhile, Tuvok undergoes the Pon farr.
It's honestly a brilliant episode, and it's very... I'm going to be a bit mean about Voyager here, and I think it's that because we've watched so much TNG and we've watched so much DS9, I don't think things gel as well on Voyager until later on.
Yeah.
But then you get this wonderful thing. Like, you know how we talk about, like, Next Gen doesn't really find its way until season 3 and all this lark and stuff. But, like, with Voyager, I was just like, when you watch the earlier ones, I'm like, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing yet. No. Like... And then, but this episode is like everyone is fully realized. We're towards the end. 7 is absolutely incredible. The Doctor is absolutely incredible. Like, even like Harry Kim is like decent in this episode, but it's still clear that this far on, they still didn't quite know what to do with Harry Kim.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you literally... this is the weird thing. There's literally a bit where he's just like, "Oh, I'm the superior officer here," and it's just like, I never really thought about that, but technically he is, even though no one watching it would think that 7 was actually less than him.
He's only he's only the superior officer because she is technically a civilian.
Yeah.
So like he is only the superior because there is no one lower than Harry Kim around. So he has got dibs on the command.
It's just really, really strange. Like it's,
yeah.
but I will criticize slightly that Harry Kim feels like it could be any other character in this. There is
Oh God.
nothing. You literally could have replaced what he does in this episode with Balana or with Tom Paris or with even Neelix possibly. I wouldn't though. But
No.
it's just that actually no, because then we'd miss out on a very good bit later on with Neelix. But it does feel a
The
bit weird, but I think it's because the Doctor and Seven just steal the show in this one.
they steal the show because the B plot with Tuvok is not a fully fleshed out B plot. It is.
Mm.
It's not as we don't get as much as we should when it comes to Tuvok. We absolutely love Tuvok at Trekking Up North. We love Tim Russ. We firmly believe that Tuvok is the best Vulcan
Yeah.
that we have had in Star Trek, the most fleshed out Vulcan that we have in Star Trek. And I have
And one of the best actors we've had
Yes.
in Star Trek. Like it's this
Absolutely.
idea of like we have with Tuvok and like we have with T'Pol. It's not easy being stalwart and then still putting stuff through. Like it's this idea of being able to be that subtle with your emotions and that subtle with your nuances, but then still have them shine through. It's perfection. And that's the thing, even though like the Tuvok plot in this feels like they worked it in because they needed something. They were like, how can we involve Janeway? How can we have the rest of the ship doing stuff? We need something happening on the ship. What's that going to be? Oh, okay, we could do this. Like it feels like they got the need for it before the idea for it.
But they also had a problem on Voyager as a whole because there are two male Vulcans in the crew, and we have already done the Ponfar for one of them. And this is Series 7. They have been in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years, and Tuvok has not. I've coined this episode Quest for Nut Part 2. But he has not gone through the Ponfar yet. So conveniently, his last nut was before they went into the Delta Quadrant. So now they're sort of going, well, it's kind of been 7 years, and if we don't have Tuvok getting a little bit horny by now, people are going to go, this is a massive plot hole. He's a Vulcan. His quest for Nut must be fully realised.
And it's also the fact that they've not to dismiss, not to sort of belittle the Ponfar's importance, but it's the fact that we've already had the Tuvok mental health psycho episode,
and
because
we
obviously
get more in this season as well.
Yeah. But that's the interesting thing, but we've kind of had that, and we're like going, well, that's pretty much what the Ponfar episodes are. They're basically, look, it's a Vulcan acting irrationally. And so they've kind of already done this with Tuvok. So it is kind of cool that they just go, here's a thing that happened. And it's cool because it kind of fleshes out. I guess we're talking about the B plot here before we get into the main A plot to
let's
get out
get
the way,
into
I guess.
yeah. I think let's get into the B plot. I think what we can confidently do is get into the B plot first, resolve the B plot, and then we can focus on the main story because they don't really affect one another until Act 3, shall we say? And basically, it is the 7th year that Voyager has been in the Delta Quadrant. Tuvok
was very lucky to get to Nut just before he left. Can you imagine that? Just sleeping with your wife and then being like, now I'm off to pretend to be a terrorist for a couple of months. Oh, and now I'm trapped in the Delta Quadrant.
But the thing is, it's like, I will sleep with my wife and then I will disappear for 7 years. That is the ultimate cold shoulder after a Vulcan booty call.
Just like my dad.
I'm going for milk 70,000 light years away.
That's it, in the Delta Quadrant.
Why has Spa got a shop that far out? But we...
just what's the name? Just T'Pel's like, I don't think he's coming back, children.
Yay. No, emotion. But, yeah, so he's experiencing the Ponfar.
In the worst possible way, because this is the joke. Like, I have to say, Tuvok is kind of bullied on Trek because he's so good, and like he's such an amazing character, and he's such a badass that, like with Spock, the show kind of has to berate him and go, look, he is so good and so useful in all these situations that he has to be kind of mocked in a way.
Yeah.
Like, how Spock is the butt of every joke in the original series, and it's like, oh, look how weird he is, and all these weird little quirks he's got. And in this, Tuvok is, because he's the most competent member of the crew. And it's this idea of just going, it's a comedy of errors. The whole episode between both plots is a comedy of errors. But with this one, we have Tuvok being like, oh, I've got the Ponfar. This is the most awkward and embarrassing and difficult thing in the entire world. Oh, and it's during the time when the doctor's not on board because he's on this other mission. Who's the doctor instead? It's Tom Paris. Oh, great. So we've got to do something really, really subtle and really sort of like nuanced with the least subtle and nuanced person on the crew, bar Neelix. And so we get this comedy thing where it's basically going, oh God, Tom Paris is like, oh, you're feeling a bit ill, aren't you? Oh, I wonder if it could be the Ponfar. And when we've seen what it's like in Enterprise, where it's such, like, and in Voyager, where it's such an embarrassing thing to talk about, like,
it's so taboo, but yet it's so raw and intense. Like, for those that don't know, Ponfar is every 7 years, Vulcan males have
need to nut.
Yeah, they have an irresistible urge to do the sex, but they have to travel to Vulcan to be with their partner. If they don't,
has no one introduced the concept of wanking to Vulcan yet?
Starfleet fleshlights were still in development when Voyager left, but but it's an irresistible urge. And if they don't do it, because there's a neurological imbalance within their brain, if they do not copulate, they die. Because there is no other way for them to have this neurological balance restored, and it will kill them. So it's either they can't do the 5-knuckle shuffle because it's not the same.
I've heard that before.
They must do the sex. They must have this distasteful mating ritual, otherwise they will die. And we see this in Blood Oath in season 3, where we see the other Vulcan. I can never remember his name because I can always remember as because he's the same one.
It starts with a T because all of their names, all of the non-main character names start as T. Well, actually, Tuvok.
They beta cannoned him as a twin brother of the one from the Enterprise D. But we see this in Blood Oath, and now we see it in Tuvok in this episode, and it is Tom Paris. Now, what I found interesting is Tuvok has anticipated that this is coming, and so has the Doctor. So he's confided in the Doctor and said, "You need to provide me with this supplement, 13A, and this will restore my neurological imbalance, and I will be fine. I will ride the wave, shall we say." What I found interesting when he said 13A, later on in the episode, 7 of 9 eats food supplement 13A.
It's jizz. I'm just saying. It's jizz.
It's anti-nut juice. But
anti-nut juice. 7's just like, I just found this in the replicator. It's delicious. And
full of protein.
It's 2 box no nut juice.
Yeah. But we find that this is...
Welcome back to themes of violation. Sorry.
Yeah, welcome back to... I could just see the chat now. No, Beth. But I can... it doesn't work. It doesn't have the effect that Tuvok hoped it would.
Well, this is the problem. Like, I have to say, it's a bit... This first scene between Tom and Tuvok is awkward, but obviously it's... I'm on a bit of a... soapbox because I'm not keen on Tom Paris as a character, and I find him like difficult, like the way he interacts with people, because he represents the most human member of the crew, the most sort of like, hey, like the most American member of the crew, I guess. And then Tuvok represents this like the Vulcan methodology and how they are, and I just find it so grating between them and whatnot. Because I kind of wonder, it's because Tom Paris is like, oh, well, I can't just make you this thing that the doctor's prescribed to you kind of thing. I have to know what it's all about in order to like do stuff. And you just go, are you just being nosy? Like, because can you imagine going to a pharmacy and they're like, oh, yeah, you can't just pick up this prescription. You need to tell me all the secret details of your thing. It's like, well, no, if you're the what do you call it?
The pharmacist.
Locum, I guess, or
Oh, yeah.
I guess he's like the locum in this situation. But it's the idea of if he's like the stand-in while the doctor's away, why is he questioning the doctor's things, if not just to be like, oh, I want to know about your personal stuff.
You want to
Tuvok, which
know? I
feels weird.
have a battered prostate.
If he had, he wouldn't have the bloody bonfire. But it's the it would have been sorted. But that's the that's what I'm saying. That's my solution to the episode. It's just a bit
Get
unconventional.
him a discount code for Bad Dragon. So yeah, so
we can't even talk about what I was talking about before this, where I was talking about my handkerchiefs. And
yes, we can.
Can we talk about?
Yes, we can. Science Officer Synoiz.
No, we can't do this.
You have had a very successful week selling your merchandise, I believe. The Velvet store.velvetsnatch.com. Right, link
The
in the
Velvetsnatch.com.
The Velvetsnatch.com. Link in the description below. Please go buy your merch.
Yeah.
Something sold out this week though, didn't it? Because it's proved
Well,
ironically quite a hit.
We're quite surprised by this, if I'm perfectly honest. But basically, this week on Sunday. I launched my Hanky Code merchandise, and it's the Hanky Code was basically a thing we had in the the 60s through to the 90s, where basically gay men would wear coloured handkerchiefs in their back pocket to indicate like what they were looking for. So if you're going to like a club or whatever, people can go, oh, they're into this kink. Okay, cool. Like we don't need to have an awkward conversation about it and whatnot when people are looking for stuff. Yeah, so I've brought out a range of custom-made ones that are like embroidered and they're custom material and stuff, and you can order them, even if you're like not intending them for like the sexual sordid aspect of it. They're just pretty little branded handkerchiefs that you can get for a tenner from me, and they're all hand sewn by me. But basically, my friend does the embroidery on them, and they pre-prepared like a certain amount of them. So I was like, oh, this one's going to be popular, this one's going to be popular.
This is going to be a meme, by the way. I can feel
it will be a meme. It better be a meme. But then basically we prepared them, and I was like, oh, I'll only need like a few of these ones or whatever. Yeah, I can officially say that we've now sold out of the fisting handkerchief. So we have no more fisting red handkerchiefs available. So sorry if you wanted one of those. I'm gonna have to speak to my friend and get some more embroidered. But
it's official.
And this is literally what led on to the Battered Prostate song, because I brought this up and we giggled like children.
And then I just started singing Evita. It's official though. Science Officer Synoiz has fisted so hard that he can no longer fist anymore.
I can't do it, He-Man. I fisted hard, but I can't fist anymore. That is one of my favorite memes, and it's not even a meme. It's literally just a panel from an actual comic book.
I can literally envisage the very panel with your face as fist and my face just holding you in comfort, going, "I can't do it, Captain Goodwill. I fisted so hard I can't fist anymore."
We're helping them. We should be helping them.
If you listen so carefully, you can hear Chris frantically typing.
Wife, bring me my Photoshop.
Bring me my meme cup.
But yeah, that is a thing that happened. What were we talking about before this?
Ponfar Tuvok.
Okay, yeah.
So
I
supplement
thought this scene
work.
was quite uncomfortable, and I feel like the supplement might have worked had he been able to get it earlier, in a kind of weird way, because we don't know how much time has passed. So I don't know how much time has passed, but it kind of feels like, like Paris kind of leaves the thing being like, oh, I'm not going to tell anyone that you're going through Ponfar. I'll just say you've got like the flu. But then he doesn't actually say he's going to give him the supplement, And then the next scene that we have with them, they're like, oh, the supplement's not working. What do we do about this? Oh, well, I'm not good enough as the doctor to actually, change it up kind of thing. So Tom Paris basically suggests what we always suggest, which is basically, how about some holodeck fuckery?
Holodeck.
But holodeck, how about some holodeck? No, that's the opposite of what Tuvok wants. He wants his whip. Yeah, because and this is quite good.
Hang on. Whoa! What? Hollow whiff.
Hollow whiff.
Hollow wife or just hollow whiff?
It's hollow whiff. It's as in like it's just his whiff. It's like wifey, but with some of
Ladies
the
and
letters
gentlemen,
missing.
I'm experiencing slang for the first time, and I am blown away by this.
I could have said like hollow wifey or something, but
I was thinking hollow snatch, but
hollow snatch. It's not that
it's just
hollow.
you with a mobile emitter.
Stop helping the meme people. Stop helping them with this. Hollow snatch. Why
Please
is hollow
state the
spelled with
nature.
a W? Well,
Please state the nature of the fisting emergency.
I don't think we should record episodes on Tuesdays. We are far too silly this early on in the week.
Oh, that's so funny.
Please state the nature of the fisting emergency.
I've run out of handkerchiefs.
Look, I didn't realize there would be such a rush, okay? I didn't realize it was that big a thing. My God. There's a lot of people who could count as hand luggage on flights by the sound of it. No, I don't need to carry a bag. I've got my boyfriend.
All I'm saying is, in the northeast of England, there is a lot of ventriloquists. So,
I've suddenly realised why Sooty never spoke.
I suddenly realised why everyone in Newcastle walks funny. So,
But yeah, what
so
do we do?
So Tom Paris. So Tom...
Well, basically, we have a wonderful thing where Tuvok is more sensible than the previous Vulcan, where the previous Vulcan was like, hey, I don't want to do this because it's not real. I don't want to do the holodeck. And Tuvok is like, actually, this is the only option. I need to get back in there. Because he is very logical.
But he is logical because he's got a justifiable option by using the holodeck because he is married. Unlike the other Vulcan, Tuvok is married, and he does have photos of Mrs. Tuvok. So he's like, T'Pel, create me a Timu T'Pel in the holodeck, and because he's worried.
And I like that Tuvok is receptive to this. He's basically going, look, I'd like to do that, but I can't sleep with some woman on the holodeck because it wouldn't be my wife.
We have a
Paris basically goes, hey, we can scan her photos in. We can make your wife on the holodeck. And Tuvok is like, okay, cool, let's try this. And I like this. It's why I like Tuvok, because he's not the stuffy Vulcan that we see in other places. He's
so logical. He's rational about it. He understands that they are in an impossible situation. They are 70,000 light years from the Alpha, or wherever, from Earth Vulcan. That at this point in the series, there is an absolute zero chance of getting back in their lifetime.
In order to nut.
In order to I mean, 70 years is a long time to blue ball yourself. You'd be like Randy Marsh in South Park, just but the can't believe I just said that. But he is thinking logically and rationally, where he's going, this is my only option, because I firmly believe he would take the events of what happened in Blood Oath a few years earlier and go, we don't want a repeat of that. Meditation has not worked. The neural balancer formula has not worked. This is the last best option that I have for survival. So he is more receptive. And I think as well, it's down to his age, because he tells Paris that with age, because Paris is like, I thought someone at your age, the Ponfar wouldn't be an issue. And then we get a lovely bit of Vulcan lore where he's like, the Vulcan sex drive increases with age.
Which is terrifying. Can you imagine?
A horny 100-year-old. I tell you what, Sarek must have been ravenous. No wonder he was crying all the time in Unification. But
the pain of blue balls. It's because they were weighed down so much. They were so weighed down, it was
Hang on. Are you saying in that episode he mind melded with Picard? Picard was crying because he had to experience the trauma of edging from Sarek.
Or literally, it's like it's just he had like a sort of 100 or 200 years of just absolute no coming from from Sarek. And about it, it's just like, oh, according to Picard, I just slept with a Crusher a couple of years ago, so I'm fine. But
No wonder he
just
had like 17 children. But yeah. So this is the rational, logical option that Tuvok has, and like Synoiz said, he's very receptive to it, and I like that about Tuvok. Tuvok is the best Vulcan. He's the most fully fleshed out Vulcan, but he is not an uptight, stuffy Vulcan. He is experienced enough to also look at the rationale of the situation.
well, it's that idea of principles and pragmatism.
Yeah,
So it's the idea of basically you can be as stuck up as you want, but then if your things don't work, so it's like religion or whatever, where people are like, oh, we need to follow this religion, and then you just go, but what about when you hit a problem that religion can't fix,
yeah,
or where it just goes, oh, there's impossibility there, where you have to either go against your faith or do a terrible thing or have a
yeah,
terrible thing happen, and you just go, oh, it doesn't work, and that's the problem. If you are totally sort of idealist and totally like, stuck in the mud, then you're never going to get anywhere. Whereas a pragmatist is someone who's just like, oh, I guess we need to adapt for the situation. And that's
yeah.
what Tuvok does. He realizes if he could just leave the ship and go off and meet a Vulcan woman or go and see his wife, it would be sorted. But he's like, there is nothing to do here. There's no point holding on to my principles.
What I what I absolutely love as well is obviously that he goes to the holodeck. He's with his wife T'Pel, and they're about to do the horizontal mind meld, and obviously the aliens of the week. And I'm trying to find the name because for the life of me,
I
it
I didn't get
escapes me
any
at
of
the
them.
moment.
I literally
Let me have.
I like the like an interesting fact about T'Pel, okay, is because I actually like researched her on Memory Alpha just to be like, she's
Yeah.
only in 3 episodes of Voyager, and it's the same actress twice, and then it's a different one who's uncredited for the third appearance in
Lot
Bliss, I think it is.
the aliens are called the Lukirim.
Oh, look here, okay. Um,
Lukirim. Yeah.
but
So,
the
but when
bizarre
they,
thing is the bizarre thing is I checked into the beta canon of Tuvok and T'Pel, and in their mirror universe selves, they're actually married. And it's kind of, I like that how rare it is. Like it's like I think it's literally only Cisco and his wife that are together in the mirror
yes,
universe,
yes.
that in canon. So I kind of like the idea that even in a mirror universe, when they're potentially horrible people or something, Tuvok and his wife are still actually
Well,
together,
no,
which is quite cool.
no, because the mirror universe we see that the Vulcans are subjects of the Terran Empire, so they are not inherently bad.
Hmm.
They are, because we see this in the Mirror Darkly Part 1 and 2 in Star Trek Enterprise. They are not inherently bad. They are
Hmm.
just subjugated by the Terran Empire. So we still see that there is some good, but obviously they have been they are essentially like the Bajorans to Bajorans to the Cardassians.
Hmm.
So we see that there could be evil ones, but there also could be you know
But the issue is that it's like I wonder about this because we do get Tuvok in the mirror universe, don't we? In DS9.
Tuvok. No, we don't.
Are you sure? I'm sure there's an
Yeah,
episode where we get Tuvok, and he's just randomly there because in that mirror universe he's.
I will double
I can't remember. Yeah,
check.
but anyway, but it's that idea where it doesn't like I know it doesn't flip you. So if you're a good person in the normal universe, then you're an evil person in the other one. It's only certain
You
people.
sir, you sir,
Yeah.
are correct.
Yeah, I remember there was an episode where it just has Tuvok there, and he's like, "Yep, in this universe, I'm here." But he's still a good person, and it's this because I would think that with Vulcans, because they're logical, like, actually, I guess so because their logic means that they transcend good and evil, really, because they're pragmatic rather than actually it doesn't matter about their feelings about stuff.
Mm.
Oh, so I guess like real universe Tuvok might be evil as fuck, but he doesn't do anything about it because he's logical. In a weird way like that. Where and Mirror Universe might be good as anything, but doesn't do anything good because he's pragmatic. So he just does the pragmatic. There's a discussion for everyone. A massive tangent, but yeah. Anyway.
So
sorry.
he's in the holodeck. The LCARS attack Voyager because the LCARS are wholly against photonic beings altogether. They attack Voyager, try to destabilize holodeck 2, which is active where Tuvok is, and essentially the LCARS cockblock Tuvok.
It's so bad.
Tuvok
He's
cockblock.
literally about to get his end away.
Oh,
and then the holodeck cuts out and she vanishes, and you're just like, no. I've never been there for my boy Tuvok more than this, you know.
Oh, he is literally blue Vok at the moment. But the absolute G that he is, he gets back into that uniform and he gets onto that bridge. And what I love is the special. This is what, for me, is missing from Star Trek Prodigy. I won't spoil it because season 2 started off rough, but I have heavily got into it. But non-spoiler, I mean, I don't care. It is a spoiler. Tuvok's not in it, but he is heavily missed because of it. Like, if there was ever a character that was needed, it would be Tuvok, because Tuvok is Janeway's right-hand man. And what we see in this episode is Janeway and Tuvok are so close and so in tune with one another that she senses that, you know, Tuvok has got the Tarkalian flu. That's funny. You had the Tarkalian flu about 7 years ago. You don't have to be here. But Tuvok is
she immediately knows. Like, and I love the relationship they have together is amazing.
Yeah, but you know, Tuvok is so dedicated to his duties that he is willing to go through the pond far whilst being on duty, because he knows it is more important to deal with this situation than to somehow get his end away.
But which is great, and I absolutely love that. But the next bit is one of my favorite bits of the episode, because like I say, the Voyager loves putting all the shit onto Tuvok, being like, hey, he's such a competent person, let's make things rough for him. So after Janeway's basically just said, hey, you don't need to be here, you can go away. Guess who turns up? It's fucking Neelix. Fucking Neelix turns up and he's like,
I heard... paycheck.
Yep, I heard you were ill, so I brought you some lovely soup and stuff. And it literally, this whole moment, it's like in wrestling where you just go, oh, what's this? What's happening now? It's Neelix with the chair. And it's literally like, and just Tuvok's like, please kill me. It's just, this whole scene is just like, Tuvok being like, well, at least it can't get worse. And then Neelix is like, hello.
What's funny is the 2 Voyager episodes that we have reviewed, I believe they have both been A Quest for Nut, right? Those have been the only 2 episodes. And both episodes, this year, and both episodes, we have had the bare minimum of Neelix. And literally,
so we've had 2 good episodes, is what we're saying.
It is just him giving a plate of something and just be like, I've just made $7,500.
Yeah.
Bye. And gone
they
for the rest of the week. They
don't know what to do with my character. You know,
he's gone down to Paramount at 4 a.m. He's gone down to Melrose 4 a.m. He's put on the makeup. He's put on the curtain from your mum's living room from 1995, right? He has got that plate. He has got onto set and he's just gone, hi, Tuvok. Got out of the set, gone back to the trailer, got out of the makeup, got out of your mum's curtain from 1995, got back into his car and drove home for the week. Now, if someone said to me, you can do that for $7,500 an appearance, where do I sign up? Where do I sign up? Easiest job.
Wouldn't it be better, though, if you weren't in makeup?
No.
What if you were Harry Kim, okay? Imagine you were Harry Kim in this situation where you could literally be like, I'm just here on the bridge. You know, and it's just be like...
It would be...
And then still get the paycheck.
I could... If they ever do Star Trek Legacy, I'm telling you, I am just going to get this uniform and I'm just going to walk on set like I'm supposed to be there. And I'm just going to sit there and wait for someone to notice. That's all I'm going to do.
But I do love this because it's one of these things of like the animosity between Tuvok and Neelix, and it's obvious
it's an Odo Quark.
Yeah, it's Odo Quark, but it's like it's not quite as good as Odo Quark
No.
because the fact is I love Odo and Quark like equally. I think they're both amazing characters.
And
I
then you get
don't particularly
Neelix.
like Neelix, but then it's the idea of I love the frustration that Tuvok has with Neelix, so he works as a foil. But yeah, no, and I absolutely love that scene for that reason, effectively. What happens next? Is
Well,
that the last bit we see of the
with
Tuvok plot?
no, because the last bit we see of the Tuvok plot is Tuvok has
Oh yeah.
finally
Yeah, the episode's completed. They've got the holodecks back online. Tuvok has done the deed, and
yeah.
then what does he say to Paris?
Uh, his wife's ears are 4 millimeters too short or too long. And he's like, I love the fact that Paris says, I went for a bit of artistic license, and I'm sort of like, what else did you take artistic license with?
Wait, it's just this thing of like, I tried. I'm sure he says something like, I tried to improve it, and it's like, effectively, he's saying, hey, your wife needs improvement. I'm sure
Yeah,
it was something like that,
your
which was
wife
like
needs a
going,
lobe job.
yeah, a lobe job.
Yeah, no,
She
not
needs
that type.
Umax. Umax.
Max.
Umax.
Max. Oogie. Right. But yeah,
Okay,
so
so that was the B plot, and it's
successfully
really
gets his
good.
end away.
Chinros
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
It's nice to see his wife again. And then yeah, and I quite like Tom Paris in this. Like he is my least favorite character on Voyager, and I quite like that when you get so many characters in this episode who just aren't there. Like Chakotay gets nothing to do. He's there, he gets nothing to do. Balana's not even in this episode. Neelix, like we say, got a paycheck. And
But the
yeah, and
thing
then we've got,
is,
and there's loads of other people that we have on the crew at this time. Like we have bloody that little brat. What's her name?
wow, Naomi Wildman.
Naomi Wildman. You know, the airlock fodder. And also you've got people like Icheb and stuff who are still like on the crew and whatnot. So it's a bit
Leave
weird
him
that the
alone.
episode.
He follows me on Twitter. Leave him
Hey,
alone.
I really like Icheb. Icheb's
Yeah.
fucking fit as hell. I'm just annoyed he's married. But it's the idea
Starts
of
tweeting Ichab. My friend thinks
no,
you're
I've seen his husband. I've seen his husband. Like, yeah, I'm not breaking that up. Like, you know,
My
that's it.
friend thinks you and your husband are hot. Room 1328,
I'll bring the
Excalibur
fisting hanky.
Hotel.
I'll bring the fisting.
What colour's the hanky?
It's red. Red. There we go.
He will be wearing a red hanky. Yeah, but
We've built up way too much awkward lore here. But anyway,
But the thing is with Tom Paris, by season 7, Tom Paris was the young, immature one. Stop laughing. He was obviously he's Kim's best friend, but he's the young, immature one. But like you said, he is like the American. So like he is me in the 24th century. He
but you're likable.
He is like he loves Americana. He loves doing up old cars. He loves ships. He's a pilot. He just loves anything mechanical. But he's also very immature. He does the Captain Proton / Buck Rogers things, and he essentially likes he likes to have fun, and he's a bit of a womanizer in the early seasons. But we see by season 7 he's married to B'Elanna Torres. He is settled, and he's become more mature in a way because he's taken on the extra responsibility. I think the demotion humbled him, but he took that extra responsibility. And what we see here is if this was early series Paris, the situation with him and Tuvok would be different. I think Paris would have maybe told someone or something like that. But with this this late iteration of Paris, he is more respectful for Tuvok, and he genuinely cares for his well-being, because he doesn't ask like, oh, so how was the holodeck, like, oh, did you get your underwear? He's like, did it work? Because if it didn't work, we are going to have a problem like we did a few years ago. So
Wait, I think that's great though, because I don't give Tom Paris like credit for the journey that he goes on, but you're right.
He's become more rounded as a character. He's become more developed, but in himself he's become more mature, which we see in this, because he takes on the role of the medical practitioner, and he's like, I can't give you this medicine because of the rules and regulations. He doesn't want to. Early Paris would have broken it, would have said, "Yeah, here you go," and then that would have been it. The B plot's
See,
over.
I don't know. I class it as the opposite. I kind of go, he won't give him the medication because he's nosy. Like, I still think there's an aspect of that boyish thing. Like,
I don't know, because I think Paris knows.
it just, if the doctor had prescribed it, why would he know better? Like, like, why would the doctor be like, why would Tom Paris be like, oh, I think it is just him being nosy, but at the same time, it's like, he does give him it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, well. So
that would have solved the episode quicker.
Oh, we'll always have Paris. But the main plot, the main A plot of the show is that on the Delta Flyer, we got Harry Kim, the Doctor, and 7 of 9. They are conducting a survey on a passing comet. They have taken samples with what they believe is like early signs, like early DNA, and they are speculating like this comet. A lot of people, there is a theory in certain circles that and I think it's I don't think it's the Mormon religion. I think it's there is a religion where life here began out there. There is a religion where they believe that life came from the stars. Not Scientology or any of that bullshit, but it's
Mormonism has loads of space Jesus and stuff, doesn't it?
It's a genuine theory, but there is like an actual theory that there was because millions and millions of years ago, they thoroughly believed that Mars was very much like Earth. In Star Trek terms, it was an M-class planet. It had an atmosphere, it had water, and possibly it had vegetation and life. Possibly. There is clear, unequivocal evidence that water is and was on Mars. And, at an earlier period, it was flowing because there's carved riverbeds and everything like that. What they believe is that at some point, maybe as the atmosphere was blown away from Mars, there was an asteroid impact so great that any DNA, like whatever thing DNA it was, impacted Mars, was jettisoned into space, and then because of the proximity to Earth, those rocks carrying that DNA landed on Earth as Earth was in like an early stage of development of life. So they believe, because one of the theories is if they find biological life on Mars or trace elements of possible biological life, if they compare it to our own, it may solidify a theory that life on Earth began out there for us on Mars. Now, in this episode, why
can't it be both? Like, why can't we just have two planets where life developed?
Because what they're saying is, like, you adapt to live on a certain planet. So what they would say is, right, Mars is so different to Earth because it's got these elements in it that Earth doesn't have. It's got like a high presence of this. If they if they find like, oh, well, actually the biological life on Mars contains elements that we find on Earth, but Mars itself doesn't have that anymore. Basically, if the DNA matches, it's evidence that we could have possibly originated from like primordial,
which is kind of frustrating, because it's kind of like, if that was the case, then it would basically say, hey, maybe there isn't other life out there, because obviously if we kind of say, hey, life developed on its own on Earth and it also developed totally independently on Mars and they're not connected, then that could happen on other planets. Whereas if we say, oh, 1 in a billion life developed on Mars and the only reason we have here is because life came from Mars. It's like, I don't know if I like that, because I like the idea of there being alien life.
It's more the building blocks. What you could say is like the building blocks started here. There might have been life already starting in certain places, but I don't. It's a really weird, but it's a really weird and interesting theory. And think of the ramifications that it could have if they pie in the sky. If they did say, "Hey, we did not originate on this planet," like
Mm.
as not as a human species, but like all life, the building blocks of all life stemmed from uh, Mars, and because of an impact on Mars, it fell into Earth's atmosphere. It travelled. There's also these theories that when astronomers and scientists get excited about comets and asteroids and everything that fly into the solar system. The one that looked like it had a really weird Hawaiian name because it was discovered by the observatory in Hawaii, but it was like a long cigar. And they were really excited about it because it passed through our solar system and then exited our solar system. They believed, again, that also may have contained the building blocks of life from another planet that was disintegrated or had broken up or had an impact. And what we see here in Voyager is that they are chasing a comet and they have taken a sample and they have found, I don't know exactly what he calls it, I may have to get the thing, but they find essentially DNA. Oh, why is my mouse playing up? Sorry. There we go. Yeah, so where is it gone? There we go. Yeah, so they find
This is the biggest tangent we've had
I
today. I
know.
think.
No, but it breaks into the story.
It's
because
relevant.
They find more or less DNA, but like building blocks, postulating that life has originated. Like there was life in wherever this comet came from, because obviously it could have been a segment of a planet. It could have been. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a segment of something that's contained.
And the wonderful thing about this scene is that it sets up how the characters interact with each other. Because what we have is we have Seven of Nine, who is human, who has effectively, through Stockholm syndrome and like her assimilation with the Borg, has learned not to be human, has learned to not embrace like human values or human experiences, and basically is robotic in a lot of how she approaches things. And then you have the Doctor, who is entirely synthetic, who is entirely like a computer program developed from, like AI effectively, and is more human than her throughout
He's
this
far more
episode. And it's
inquisitive.
yeah, and it's basically it's we have this wonderful scene where he's just excited. He's like, "Oh my God, look, there is the beginnings of life here. Like you look at this and you see sort of like, like bacteria or whatnot. I look at this and I see the potential for music and compositions and art
Yeah.
and all of these amazing things." And it's this wonderful side to the Doctor where the Doctor is the same as like potentially Data in Next Generation, but I think the Doctor does it better. Like Data's great at a lot of stuff, but I think what the Doctor does is he's the most human member of the crew, despite being the least human. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. He is incredibly inquisitive and enthusiastic about things where other corporeal beings just brush them aside. Seven of Nine just sees an asteroid with a few chemicals in it and a few, like a few substances. He's just like, these are potentially, like in the right conditions, this could hit a planet which is forming, and it could be the building blocks of life. It could, eons from now, this very sample could host civilizations, musics. They could also venture out to the stars and then also wonder where these samples are going to be going and stuff like that.
It's so
And
beautiful and poetic. I love the Doctor's
wonderful,
outlook.
but this is all the time where he's having to go at Harry Kim for turbulence and stuff when he's trying to do the experiments, and then next thing the ship is hit, and the Doctor, being the Doctor, is like kicking off at Harry Kim. He's just like, for God's sakes, please keep the ship still. And Harry's just like, we are under attack. But they are under attack by an alien race that basically contacts us and says, prepare to be boarded. We detect a photonic presence on your ship.
Well, and then what we get is we have the actual Doctor starting to sort of deteriorate, where he actually starts sort of like
they fire
jittering.
A beam. Yeah, they fire
Yeah,
a beam to the
so
ship.
they have basically a method of detecting photonic photonic activity on ships.
Yeah.
And then they also have the way of disrupting it, basically. So what Seven says is that they're decompiling his matrix. So they're literally just destroying him effectively. Like, because if you know anything about programming, if you decompile something without the intention to sort of recompile it, then you're basically going to fuck everything up.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas, yeah, and then basically we have this situation where like he's saying to Seven, "Hey, do something," and then she's like, and then we cut away, and then the next scene that we see is these these attackers. What do you call
Just
them? Like these
I would just
aliens.
basically, yeah, I would just say that they are just alien troops, shall we say, or just alien crew members.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
alien troops basically beam on board, and then they basically storm into the laboratory, and then it's just Seven there, and they're like, "Where's the photonic?" And
yeah.
she's like, "You killed him. You decompiled him. He's been destroyed," kind of thing. Nothing we do, and I love it because Seven is so bad at lying. And this is the wonderful thing where Seven is so inhuman that she's just awful at like any kind of lying. She's just
She's
like,
very Vulcan.
"You decompiled him. Yes, he's dead now." And it's just awful. And it's hilarious because obviously it's this whole episode is a testament to just how good Jerry Ryan is at acting. Like
She's wonderful.
she is like I think this is the thing, and it's why it's so good that she's being celebrated now, thanks to Star Trek Picard and thanks to sort of like new fans and whatnot. Is the idea of when you get someone who has all the gifts, when you get someone and you're just like, whoa, they're really really pretty, and I assume that like the
There was an
producers went,
issue,
"Hey, we'll hire
yeah.
her because she's pretty," and then it turns out that actually she's one of the best fucking actresses in the entire show.
There was an issue
In
with
the
Rick
in all of
Berman.
Trek.
Yeah, there was a massive issue with Rick Berman, because essentially the costume ideas were Berman's for
Okay.
Seven of Nine. I personally don't like it.
Hmm.
I feel that it objectifies Jerry Ryan as a person,
Hmm.
because why should she be treated if there is no good reason? Like, if
Hmm.
it's to say, oh, it's a special thing for her implants, I don't buy it. Like, she is not a crew member. She's not part of the
Hmm.
she's not Starfleet, which is fine. She doesn't need a uniform, but she absolutely does not need an all-in-one skin, like not skimpy but
Well,
tight
when you hear her
suit.
talking about the outfit, when you hear her talking about the outfit, and she's like, "It was not comfortable in the
No,
slightest.
it
It
does
was
not look it.
absolute hell." And this is the thing. It's this objectifying of women that we see throughout a lot of Trek. Like for instance, like Troy in Next Generation, where she was just like, what was it? What was the amazing line she said about the where in like the first series where she's got like this tiny little mini skirt or something on, and she's like,
Oh
when
yeah,
when I was sat down in the chair, I had to keep my legs together, or you could have seen what I ate for breakfast.
yeah.
And you're just like, yep, that is the most terrible outfit
It's
I've ever seen
it's
anyone
one
have
of
to wear.
it's one of the unfortunate carry-on legacies that we see from Gene Roddenberry, where he wanted the women in these outfits. And I remember there was a an issue on the set of the episode of Gary Seven where
Oh yeah, that one.
the receptionist, he wanted the skirt to be shorter, and
Like, oh, so a belt, sir.
yeah, sort of belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a nice bit of string that you're wearing, um, and it was an unfortunate legacy that carried over into Berman. And the thing is with
I
Berman,
think the problem is they know their audience. Okay, I'm going to be nasty about stuff, but I think they
yeah,
knew their audience and they went, "Hey, this will sell." And the problem is, it's true. Like whatever we say, no matter how
yeah,
high and mighty we get, there will be people who are watching the show being like, "This is improved by Seven being dressed like that." But we're lucky that Jerry Ryan was so amazing that she could basically go, "Yeah, cool. I'm up here. Thank you." In
yeah.
terms of like, I mean, obviously, I'm not interested in women, so it's like different for me, where I could just take her at like, acting
I'm
ability in the
very
scenes. But no one, the wonderful thing about 709 is if she wasn't a good actress, then all people would talk about is her looks. But everyone gushes about 709, not because of how she looked or the outfit or whatnot. They talk about it because she's such an incredible character in
when
it.
she was announced. See, for two things for me, I never sexualize anyone from Star Trek. Like I joke about Anson Mount.
Well, the Delta Flyer.
That's not a person though. But in all seriousness, like I would never sexualize someone from Star Trek because the way I see Star Trek, and for many fans, possibly in my age and even older, Star Trek was an extension of family.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a huge family. I still don't have a huge family. I didn't have any siblings. I still don't. I'm joking. I have a sister somewhere, but
It makes it sound like she's in the basement or something. She's just.
Oh, bold of you to assume I had a basement.
She's in it. Is she in the? Is she with Tuvok? Is she with Tim Ross in the boot of your car?
No, she's unfortunately in Scotland. But I saw them as an extended family, so I could not see any of the cast, any of them from any of the shows in that light, if you know what I mean. So when you get other fans and they're like, "Oh, Jerry Ryan," ooh, and I'm just like, why? Do you know what I mean? So for me, I liked Jerry Ryan for her role as Seven of Nine. I thought she was brilliant. So when she came back in Star Trek Picard, like when the first trailer dropped, I remember I was in Destination Star Trek in Birmingham, and they showed the trailer for season 1 of Picard before anyone knew it was crap. But when she was revealed, the electricity in the room, you can't describe it. And it wasn't because it's Jerry of Nine, she's gorgeous still. It was just like, it's Seven of Nine. It is one of our favorite fleshed out characters, and she is back, and she is different. Like she is more human, and she is fully fleshed out, and it's wonderful because the producers of the show wanted it to go one way, and it did with some fans, but for a large majority it went the opposite way because we're like, we don't care what you put her in, it is the act, it's like the character herself that we fall in love with, not the physicality or the appearance of that character.
And that's it. And you kind of wonder if Trek is like that, where I don't want to say that it makes things unsexy, but I want to say it basically rises above it, where it's this idea of it goes like, hey, you're watching this not because it's pretty people or whatever, you're watching it because of this. Like, for instance, like I've said before, like I'm really happy that there's no one that I particularly find attractive in Trek, like across all Trek, because it means that I can just focus on the episodes. Like that's why I'm so happy with I keep saying it, but with TNG, like the actor who plays the outrageous Akana is
he is
absolutely
amazing.
He is, and that episode is really difficult for me.
When he was in season 1 of Prodigy,
and
then he was in Lower Decks. And it's just like, I am so glad they are bringing this character back.
They're just going, hey, this is a bizarre character, but we kind of love them. And it's a very difficult episode to watch because he's so attractive. And I'm so incredibly glad that he didn't get the Riker role, because I think it would have lessened Next Gen if you had someone like that kind of thing throughout the whole thing. And I like that I can appreciate and love the actors on their merits of their performance rather than just being like, oh, they're really pretty, you know?
So we see
that was a tangent. That was a fucking tangent. Talking about alien life. Anyway, they come in. Seven's got the Doctor's gone. They say that they've killed him. Seven pretends to lie. And then what we get is we get them actually in the prison. So it's Harry, Kim, and Seven in prison on this alien world. It's on the alien ship, isn't it? It's not a world. Alien ship. And then basically Seven starts acting weirdly. And then Harry kind of works out, you've basically downloaded the Doctor out of their sort of mobile emitter into. It's really difficult because they say mobile because they're American, so it's like the mobile emitter.
Yeah.
So
mobile.
What do we say? Are we supposed to say mobile emitter, or do we say it by the brand?
I just say mobile emitter.
Mobile. I'll say mobile emitter. It's really difficult because it's like, you know, when there's like names for stuff where you're like, oh well, that's actually the brand name, so we can't just.
We'll call it mobile.
Mobile
emitter.
And so what we get is we get a tour de force of Jerry Ryan just eating every single little bit of scenery for this entire
I
episode,
love how she goes.
basically pretending to be the Doctor.
I love how she goes. You can tell she's hung around Robert Picardo as well to really nail it down. The reports of my decompilation have been greatly exaggerated. I love it. She just
And Harry Kim's
absolutely
just like,
it.
oh fuck.
Oh no. Yeah. Uh yeah, it's like it's sort of Trek science the way they've done this, which we've discussed in the past when it comes to Trek science, where it's just like, how did they do this? Don't worry about it. But
There's
like,
a lot of things, but like I've said in our previous episodes, Voyager is really bad for just, oh, here's just a thing that needs to happen, but it's fine. Like, you know, you forgive it because of how the rest of the episode is.
so,
but there's so much stuff in this where you're like, how does that work? What?
Yeah. And her consciousness is apparently suppressed, and this, that, and the other. But I mean, the next scene we see with them where they're in prison, and she is absolutely going acca on the prison rations, because the Doctor obviously has not tasted in his entire programming life. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He has never experienced food. So the mere basic prison rations that he is receiving, he is enjoying, and it's the way that Jerry Ryan just expresses this like wonder of eating a cracker. And like Kim's just sat there just like, I bet my suit tastes better than them. But what we love is when 7 of 9 is taken back to the Delta Flyer by Rannick, and he wants to know, like, you know, this is very sophisticated for a smuggler's ship, and you know, 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan just being Jerry Ryan being the Doctor. It's nail on the head performance all the way through.
This is the you know, where you get acting that's so good that you kind of forget that it's acting, and you just go, oh, it's just the Doctor, and you're like, no, it's not the Doctor, it's a totally different actor. But it just feels like, yeah, because obviously you have it where any situation, if you had Janeway in this situation, if you had Chakotay, if you even had Harry Kim in this situation, they would be being a bit more diplomatic and stuff. And then you literally, because it's the Doctor, they're just kind of like going, yeah, of course. Yeah. You wonder why it doesn't seem like we're a terrorist ship? It's probably because we're not a fucking terrorist ship, you know, and like just no respect whatsoever, no actual level of fear for their life or anything. And they're just tearing this poor guy apart.
When he's asking her, like, what is this in the wall? She's like, it's a food replicator. And he's like, well, could this manufacture weapons? And she's just like, just let me show you. And then the order.
No, she doesn't say that. She says she has a wonderful dig, which is where is it? Oh yes, not unless you count Mr. Neelix's Bolian souffle.
And I'm like, how does the Doctor know? How many people in sick bay has he treated? No. I'm telling you, he has treated people in sick bay for space diarrhea because of this Bolian souffle. Mark my words on that. But they go to the replicator and she orders a big slice of New York cheesecake. Now, I'm not being funny, Science Officer Synoiz. I looked at this cheesecake and I was like, that looked...
The hunger.
It was thick with 2 C's, 2 capital C's as well. But the way Ryan portrays like someone experiencing cheesecake for the first time,
it's really good.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Ryan.
I love it when she's just like,
oh, yeah. It's almost orgasmic the way she does it, and then
it's so over the top. It's almost in like Doctor Who kind of realms of acting, but then somehow it's still but like, you know, that thing of it's like, it's very over the top, but it works perfectly because it's kind of anchored down in this wonderful. It's so good. Like seeing her be so over the top.
We are not Doctor Who
brilliant.
Because we have continuity, but the way she eats it, then Rannick goes, "Is this your first time eating it?" And she's like, "No, of course not." And then he's like, "Can I try it now?"
Because she's eating it to test that it's not poisoned, and he's like, "Oh, can I try it?" And she's like, "No, I'll get you another one.
I'll get you one." And then we just see that the entire ship has divulged into this buffet of food, and there's
them ordering all the
everything.
food from the replicator and all the drink, and then it just loads of empty plates scattered around the room.
And
They've eaten all of it, and then she's drunk because she's had loads of synthale and
drunk
whatnot.
but narcissistic still, because
Yeah,
she's like,
that's the
it's
Doctor.
like the Doctor's narcissism translating into Seven of Nine's experiences. So he's just like, I'm a great Borg, and the great thing about the Borg, and it's just like that. It's just like, you really want to talk about yourself, but you know you can't.
But I kind of love it though, that even though the Doctor is drunk, okay, like though the Doctor is drunk, they're still keeping the charade going.
Yeah.
Where they're basically still pretending to be Seven of Nine, talking because their consciousnesses haven't merged. Like they haven't merged at all. It's literally it's only the Doctor at present. And they're still going like, oh, well, the greatest experience of my life was meeting the Doctor. Oh, what an amazing man, until you killed him. And then the guy's like, oh, I'm so sorry about that kind of thing. Like, and then she's like, oh, there's one way that you could make it up to me. You need to give me back you need to give me back my regenerator device. I forgot what she calls it. My regenerator device, which is referring to the mobile emitter, which he confiscated off her earlier. So basically, it's all just this crazy ploy.
She said it's like a mobile regenerator because
for her Borg implants. And basically, she's like, "Oh well, that's how you should make it up to me by giving me that back." So he does, and then the next scene, we basically get to see that because they've got the mobile emitter back, they can now take the Doctor out of Seven, and then bring him back, and then bring Seven back to the forefront, and she is not happy.
No, but this is like this poses a serious question for the episode, and again we go back to last week's fusion where it's about like this is about consent and abuse, and Seven of Nine is absolutely furious because the Doctor has fully taken advantage of Seven of Nine's body in overeating and getting drunk, and she feels like her body is being assaulted. And she openly says this,
and I don't even think it plays it in a kind of a sexual kind of like thing. It basically just says, look, consent is consent, in whatever form it is. So if someone doesn't want to eat something, they shouldn't be made to eat something. If someone doesn't want to be touched, they shouldn't be touched. If someone doesn't want to be like put in a situation, they shouldn't have to be put into a situation. Like consent isn't, when people talk about, no means no and consent, they don't just mean sex. There's a lot more situations that you can be put in that you should never be put in without your consent. And I kind of like that it does this rather than being like, it's a metaphor for rape, which, and obviously in the last episode, like we did Fusion, we got that. And it worked really well in that kind of regard. But in this one, it's like going, no touchy. Like no touchy, no forcey.
It's relevant because, there are situations that I can be put in without my consent. And because I've got issues, shall we say, I feel like it is a violation of me. Like, if someone knows, you can't do this because of this, and then they continue to do it, it is a violation. It is a violation. It is abuse of, well, it's just this, and it's like, right, but it's still, I don't want to do it. I'm not giving you the consent to do it. Why do you still think it's okay? Just because it's not the sex, or it's not, something that you can understand, might need consent, you need to be respectful of people. And what we see here is Seven of Nine basically say, it is my body and you have abused my body by overeating, by over drinking, and now I have to pay the consequences for your overindulgence. And what we see is the Doctor try to justify his behavior by saying, I have never had these experiences before. I wanted to take full advantage of it. And he's trying to basically say, it's not as bad as you're making it out. Whereas you know, we're
Hey, we've all been in this situation.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, just man up, and oh, just do this, that, the other. It's just like
no,
it's the fact of we all have the right to set our own boundaries and say that's cool that you'd be fine with this, but I don't need to be. Like my boundaries are not the same as your boundaries. And the thing is, we get the doctor where it's like we do. The whole thing is that we see both sides of it. We just go, oh, that's so amazing that the doctor's getting to experience this, and we kind of like seeing him kind of indulge himself and enjoy it. But at the end of the day, consent is key.
yeah,
It doesn't matter if you're enjoying yourself. It's like you shouldn't be doing stuff, like without everyone. But it's also the sort of thing of there is no way in this episode for her to really give consent. Like
no,
it's a very difficult one here where basically he's making decisions that he should have known she would have not liked. And he's not thinking about her because he's being selfish because he's going, hey, I want to experience these things. I wouldn't say it was necessarily like rape or full abuse necessarily because he doesn't have her if he was able to hear her or he was able to actually acknowledge her thoughts and her dislike for these things and saying hey not eating and he ignored them. I think that would be a much worse situation, but it's the fact that he keeps doing it throughout the episode is a problem. Like, and he does it for good reason. Like, he does like keep abusing her and doing all this stuff that she would never be happy about. But he does do it in order to get them out of this situation.
yeah.
But that's the whole thing, though. You can have the best idea in the entire world, but people have to agree to it.
But
Otherwise, it's not consent.
but you see him also become enamored with the female officer of the LCARS ship. But then you can see him realizing because when they're talking, they're doing some sort of experiment, and we see that he's becoming enamored, and she goes, "Oh, I know someone who would really love to meet you," and he's like, "Oh, who?" It's like what was it, my brother?
Yeah.
And the disgust on Seven's face, like your brother, and it's the realization, yes, because you are in a female's body.
There's so much interesting stuff. Like obviously we are going on a bit with this episode, but it's the fact that there's so much stuff that I want to like take apart and discuss with it. And this is one of the weirdest things where basically it's the fact of the doctor being heterosexual, like that actually being part of his programming. And it's like, where we have stuff like we have like Data's child like Lan. Is it Len? Lan.
It's Lan.
No, it's not Lan.
No, it's not Lan. It's
I think
Lol.
it's
Lol.
Lol. Is it?
Lal. L-E-L.
Lao. Okay.
Lal. Not lol.
Yeah, basically with
Hello, laugh
lol.
out loud.
She's dead, lol. That lasted long. But anyway.
Go on.
But yeah, but with her, where she gets to choose her gender, she gets to choose her sexuality, she gets to choose everything about her. That's a very different matter than the doctor, where the doctor seems to, for some reason, either made a decision in their programming to be heterosexual, or for some reason Zimmerman basically went like, "Hey, I'm going to put it. It's never going to be relevant, but we'll just make that they're straight." Into the programming, which is a weird thing. But it's the fact that he's genuinely horrified at the idea of being with a man in this episode, where it's like the idea of when later on the captain starts making moves on him and whatnot. He's just like he's like, nope, no, I don't want this. And I just want to say, I kind of like viewing this episode as if Seven was a lesbian. I mean, I know they attempted it in Star Trek Picard season 2, but that was some heavy-handed bullshit right there. I'm just going to put it there.
She's not a lesbian. She's
bisexual. Yeah. But they did push it into she's going to have a lesbian relationship.
There is a fluidity, but I would rather her be a lesbian than acknowledge anything to do with Chakotay. But
that didn't happen. It didn't happen. There was a whole meme about the headcanon.
That's why he took the Prodigy and fucked off for 10 years.
But I like the idea though that it's like I quite like seeing this as the frustration of being a lesbian in this kind of situation where you just go, oh, you're a pretty woman, and all the men are after you, and you have to tell them to fuck off, but you can't really tell them why they have to fuck off because it'll be socially awkward. Oh, but there's this woman you like, oh, she's trying to set you up with her brother. Well, that's awkward as fuck. And these are the situations that gay men and gay women have to put up with. And I kind of love seeing it in that regard for this
Yeah.
episode.
Obviously, Janeway has to find something to do, and that's obviously threatening to kill the entire
Jane
alien ship.
Janeway is amazing in this, and she only appears 22 minutes into the episode.
Yes, she does,
which is incredible.
The Lacarium ship that's captured the Delta Flyer. Obviously, we don't get a thorough background as to why these people hate photonics. What has happened? Was there a rebellion, a resurgence?
Yeah, it does. Like, we'll get into it later when we talk about like Second Contact, because this is something that I really like. This plot of these where it's not fleshed out at all. It's literally like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happened. We're not going to dwell on it, but we could if we wanted to.
So,
but I do love when they have Janeway 22 minutes into the episode and she's immediately badass. The Janeway we absolutely love, where she just takes no shit.
Yeah, she's season 7 Janeway. She is
sick of everything. So basically, like this enemy ship arrives. It goes, hey, you've got photonic stuff happening on board, so we're starting to attack you and whatnot. And then obviously that's when the holosuite and two blue balls kick off. And then Janeway is just like going, okay, target their weapons, and immediately blows their weapons up, and then just goes, okay, cool. And then they're like, you will consent, you will consent to us boarding you. You will turn off all of these things and whatnot. And Janeway's like, you're in no position to make demands, and immediately just goes, how about you do everything we say, and you escort us, and you don't to your home planet, and you don't have anyone board us, or we blow you up. And it's literally like...
She is like the Tony Soprano of Starfleet, because she's like, okay, you've got this rule. How about you escort us, otherwise I will kill you, I will kill your family, I will kill your dog, I will go to your planet and kill your planet, I will kill the planet's moon, and then for the sheer crack of it, I will kill the neighbouring planet for the lols. Because season 7 Janeway does not give a shit.
And I love that she is just the most badass out of all the captains, and that's including Cisco. It's just, but it's the fact of like she just sits down and she's like, oh, nothing like a nice bit of saber rattling there, she's fully enjoying being like that.
I think with Janeway, it's the realization. Yes, she's a Starfleet officer, and she must maintain the Starfleet way, the Federation values, but then also, I'm kind of 30,000 light years away from Starfleet at this point, and I am slowly losing patience. I love that.
This is you know how we're talking about Tom Paris and the journey that everyone goes through, like the Doctor and Seven, everyone goes through journeys. Janeway's journey is basically going, oh, I can relax the rules because we are in desperate situations and we need to do that. Like, so they go from being this, we have to do everything the Starfleet way, because they would have gone home instantly. They would have been able to go home instantly if they'd abandoned the Starfleet morals.
It's her regret
in the first episode.
Carries. Yeah, that's the regret that she carries all the way through the journey.
And by the end, she's just like, let's just get home. I can't be fucked anymore. And it's... And it's wonderful that is her progression, Like, it's like Cisco throughout all of DS9 is always kind of, look, I need to do the thing that needs to be done. That's how in The Pale Moonlight happens. That's how he despises Picard. That's how all of these little bits of his character, they're all hinted at already. Whereas Janeway, it's like going, no, by the end, she's literally like, oh, I have to kill a baby to get home. Right. Fetch the phaser.
She's very...
I'll do it with my hands.
She's very the mum that's done the Christmas shopping, and the queues have got to her, so she just wants to get on the bus and go home. That's what let's just go home. But so they are escorted through Lacarium space, constantly monitoring the photonic activity. We then get a... slightly awkward scene on the Lacarium bridge with Seven and Rannick, who has... I love the fact that when the Doctor enters a 7 of 9 to the bridge, where he goes, "Oh, it appears your crew has abandoned ship because the lights are off and there is no one there." But it just, it gets very awkward because he dims the lights and he styled his hair at first before she's come in, so he's done the old just for men, and
well, apparently not is the problem.
Yeah, well. Oh, you sly.
You
but yeah, he's
very limited humor gay.
he's dimmed the lights. He's brought out the Lambrini, and he's opened the view screen, and basically what he is doing, he's playing the. Let me just have a look. Rannick then, so he puts out, he has the pulsars EM fields vibrate against the ship's hull that they are near, and just basically gives it this mood liking. I love the fact that on the notes here I put humpback whale sounds.
They're obsessed with that. Every Star Trek thing, they're like, what's that noise? It's whales. It's
but then we get the fact when he goes in to kiss her, and it's just like, oh.
Well, I think the best thing is basically the doctor, like Seven as the doctor, basically just goes like, there's something wrong with you, and gets out the tricorder and starts scanning him, saying, yeah, your pulse is elevated. You must be really sick. We should get you to a sick bay. And he's like, no, that's not what's wrong with me. And then he like kisses her. And then she immediately just goes, what? Like this. And
Seven
the
takes
shock.
over. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's the doctor. I don't think it's Seven that takes over. It's immediately the doctor's just kind of like, what the fuck is this? Because the doctor will never have been kissed before. And he'll just be like, what is this? What is this? What are you doing? Like, it wouldn't have been on his mind because the doctor sees himself as a man, regardless of the body he's in. And then immediately is just this, I was not expecting you to be trying to seduce me because I'm a man. Oh, shit, I'm in Seven's body. And it's that, and that's what I think is the sort of the moment,
Talk to me about when he gets back to sickbay. Well, Seven gets back to sickbay, and there's a bit of a shoulder rub. And then we get to Kim, because Kim is faking.
Well, the shoulder. What happens is basically like Seven basically storms out of that and goes, "Nope, not having any of this." Goes back to sickbay and then is like saying to the medic, I have no idea what her name is, but the female crew member is basically, "Can you believe that he did that?" kind of thing. And then she's just like, "Oh well, there are some people who would love that, to happen to them for the captain kind of thing and stuff." And then the doctor basically just goes, "Oh, you're attracted to him. Well, why would you be attracted to him when there's so much more better people?" Like blatantly hinting, like me. And and this is the hilarious thing about the episode. This is what stops it being kind of rapey. In the idea, like whatever happens, it's a violation of Seven. But from the doctor's perspective, the doctor gets a kiss forced on him. Like I'm saying it's him, but doctor gets a kiss forced on him and goes, "Hey, I'm not having that." But then immediately acts the same way towards this person who he likes. And it's this whole thing of going, it's very much this, oh, men are shit. But it's the fact of like, he's immediately like, hey, I don't want the captain, but I do want this girl. And then the problem is he's trying to fight it because he's like trying to be a gentleman and heavily hinting, hey, maybe we should get together, even though he's forgotten that he's in a female body. And then he basically reaches up for something and pulls something in his back, and he goes, "This is really, really painful. What's this?" And then she goes, "Oh, I've got a massage that'll help with that," and starts massaging, starts massaging him. And then the doctor's just
Seven
like,
of Nine's body,
and Seven of Nine's just like, "Oh, this is very nice," and then immediately goes, "Oh, shit," and like pulls away and goes, "Oh, well, that's me done for the day."
Yeah.
And then what we see in the next scene is obviously when it gets back to Harry Kim, the doctor comes out of the mobile emitter again, and like gives us Seven back. And what does Seven say?
You've got it written down. You've got it written down. This is the line of the episode.
Just literally.
Take it home.
I just love it. It's like, you became sexually aroused in my body, which I do not believe has ever been said in any media ever. Like, this is the only instance of this line in
It's
existence,
the only
I think.
way it could work. But it,
But
the,
I do quite like the scene between the Doctor and the female shipmate. It's the fact of, like, she goes, "Oh, don't worry, you don't need to be afraid of me," kind of thing. I know your secret. And the Doctor's like, "What? You know my secret? How could you possibly know?" Thinking that it's talking about that
it's the Doctor.
actually it's
Yeah.
the hologram inside Seven of Nine. And then and this is one of the bits I don't like about the episode, because she just goes, "Oh, you're part Borg. Don't
Yeah.
worry, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're part Borg. It's nothing to be ashamed of." Honestly, what the fuck? Like, genuinely, can you literally, like, the Borg are the most feared and terrifying thing in the entire world, but the only reason this race exists is because they're either incredibly shit or the Borg somehow haven't found them yet.
Yeah.
And so the idea of her going, they're bothered about holograms, whereas realistically, they should have been like, "Hang on, we've just discovered that you're part Borg. You need to be destroyed immediately." Which would be the standard reaction,
But my
and yet for
justification.
laughs, they kind of.
But my justification is, they have only heard about the Borg. They have not experienced the Borg. That's how I justify it. Because if they had experienced the Borg, the response would have been, "We're chasing holograms when there is a literal fucking drone blow everything up in a 12 light year distance." And
No, you're totally right. That's exactly it. It's
that's
that
how I
they
justify it,
could not possibly have known what the Borg are properly.
Yeah, exactly. So we see that, but then what they need to do, they devise a plan to basically lower the shields on Rannick's ship in order to get the flyer off and escape from the prison cell. And I love the fact that the Doctor, being the Doctor, decides, "I'm going to apologise to Rannick on the Delta Flyer, and I'm going to do it with a fucking waltz." And I love that.
It is the most Doctor thing in the entire world, because basically just goes, "Okay, I need to send this distress call out, so I need to get access to the Delta Flyer. Okay, I know what I'll do. I'll say, hey, I will meet with you. Let's speak in private, specifically upon this ship."
Yeah.
And because he's so infatuated with her, he goes, "Oh yeah, cool." And then she replicates some champagne for them to get him a bit drunk. And then she cleverly, she basically undoes her hair, and then in her hair, holding her like bun up, is effectively a syringe. What do they call them?
Hyposprays.
It's a hyperspray. So basically, like, she does that, and then she puts the music on, and then they have a waltz, and then he immediately gets a call saying, "Hey, we've just noticed that a communication's just gone out." And she's like, "No, ignore that.
This is a communication that has been sent from the flyer to Voyager, who is being escorted through space. So Voyager has hightailed it. It's hightailing it to
Seven has warned them using this by getting to the Delta Flyer. She sent a transmission, and she's been able to do this. And then basically, like, to distract him, she waltzes, and then she basically just goes, "Okay, cool. You're not actually, you can't go back to the bridge because you'll discover what I've done." So basically, she just injects him effectively and knocks him out.
Yeah, she knocks him out, because then he is, she is able to get his codes.
Yeah.
So to speak.
It's a great little scene. The only thing that's a bit weird is that it immediately jumps into the next scene where it's basically her. I think it jumps in the next scene. Well, the next time we see Seven, she's basically in their sick bay with him unconscious, and the female medic being like, "Oh, I wonder what could have happened. It seems a bit strange that he's just fallen unconscious." And she's like, "Oh, it was the syn fail. He's not as tolerant as he thought he was." And then they're like, "No, let's just wake him up." And then injects him with a whatever it is to make him wake up. And he immediately just goes, "You fucker,"
Yeah. But he puts him under arrest. But this is at the point where Voyager turns up.
Yeah.
And Janeway being Janeway, season 7 Janeway, where, you know, essentially she she does not want to fight and asks for her people and the flyer back. Rannick refuses, saying that they were caught smuggling photonic insurgents and biogenic material. And I love the fact that Janeway just gets Chakotay to input the codes just to shut down the shields, where she's like, this is how I am not messing with you.
Yeah, this is how few fucks I give today, is basically how Janeway is here, where she's just like, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take down your shields, okay, and then we're gonna blow you up. You know,
so they put a tractor beam on the LCARS ship. The LCARS ship destroys the tractor emitter and they try to escape. But then again, Trek science, where send a communication to Seven's cortical node and ask them to disable the shields. And it's just like...
it's a weird one, because why would you put... Well, I suppose they do have Wi-Fi as Borg, but it's the idea of it's not really been mentioned before that they can actually... that they have a sort of... they've built a way to communicate directly to Seven. It hasn't been mentioned, but they just have in this episode. It's a sonic screwdriver moment, I think.
But what we see is Seven takes the mobile emitter, activates the Doctor. The crew are absolutely taken back by this, and they try and
shit. Hang on, there's a whole, you know, and it's not really a good move, because it would have been better. Okay, it would have been much better if she'd reactivated the Doctor from the holo emitter, and then she'd taken the gun while he went off went to send the message and disable the shields. But they don't, so effectively they're like going, oh, all holograms are evil, and then we get a situation where a hologram is pointing a gun at them, threatening them, and you're like, yeah, this isn't really helping, you know. And he's not very good with a gun, because he pretty much immediately gets
he's
unarmed.
very stormtrooper. Yeah, he's very... Yeah.
Because Seven would be able to shoot, but the Doctor wouldn't, because he's a Doctor.
So when Jaren tries to reinitialize the shields, the console explodes. This takes out Rannick, doesn't it? I for some reason I can't remember this part.
Oh no! What they do is basically Seven tries to take down the shields. They grab the gun off the Doctor. They shoot the actual console, and it sort of blows up. But then she basically says, "Hey, she still managed to do damage. The shields are going to fail in a couple of seconds."
Yeah.
So he runs over to try and fix the situation, and it explodes in his face. And then he gets knocked out, and then the Doctor basically says to the female medic, like, "Hey," the female crew member, "Hey, I can save him. I know you're in love with him because I am who you were talking to this whole time. I know you're in love with him, and I can save him, but you have to let me do this." But
this is a point where they have the ability to beam away. They have the ability to escape, but because they are Starfleet officers through and through, and someone is injured, he has a Hippocratic oath to help Rannick and to save his life. And he's like, I can save his life, but he needs to be in surgery immediately. I am a doctor. I know how you feel about him. You have to let me help.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, this is the classic Star Trek way, where it's like, you may be my enemy, but let me help. You know, you are injured. Let me help you. And yeah, it's just it's one thing I like about classic Star Trek, where it's like they are in a tense situation and they are working to escape, and then something happens, but their humanity comes through, and they're just like, we must show compassion towards our enemies, and we must help them at their time of need as well, which is what I love about this. And even for the Doctor, it does that. We see that so Janeway orders the team to prepare to beam out. The Doctor refuses, and he is treating Rannick. Janeway just capitulates to this. Jaren loathes who the Doctor is because he's a photonic being. So naturally she loathes him, because what the Lucarium are doing with photonic beings, this uprising that is happening.
Yeah.
But her love of Rannick trumps that hatred. So she does not want to lose someone that she obviously
See, I
has
don't.
feelings for.
This is the honest thing. I don't know if she does loathe. Like, I don't get any kind of loathing from her.
I
I
don't
just
think
get
it's
it's
loathing
like,
from the
I think
Doctor.
it's no, no. I don't think it's loathing from like the female crew member. I think it's just the idea of this is their society. Like, it's like
Yes.
they are the
Yes.
enemy. This is the situation we're in. Because she has a conversation later that we're gonna get to in a bit
Yeah.
because I really want to talk about like the parallels there and the metaphor there. But it's the idea of there's a scene where she's like, I just don't get why they would rise up against us. Like, I just don't get what the problem is. So it's very much a they don't hate them, but they're literally being attacked by them. So they're basically in a situation where we're like, we'd love to be friends with them again, but that's not happening. So we have to be
It's
this
sort
attacky
of
kind of thing.
yeah, it's sort of they don't understand the reasons behind the
Yeah.
uprising, and whether that be because their society as a whole is not giving them the full truth as to why, or they are being given propaganda to say, oh well, they are just
Well,
their programming is wrong and they're
let's finish the episode, then we'll talk that because that is probably the most fascinating part of the whole thing, I think.
yeah.
Like the
So
that discussion.
so the Doctor saves Rannick's life, restores him, restores his health.
And comes clean saying, hey, all that time that was me in Seven's body. And it's weird. It's like a kind of, hey, no homo
Yeah.
kind of moment. But
But
it's
I love
like
the fact he says to Rannick, he's sort of hinting at Jaren, and he's just like, maybe, people, the what does he say? Basically, the way he was with Seven, maybe other people would also appreciate.
Yeah, I quite like that. He's like, "Hey, you should fuck her.
Yeah,
You should totally get with her."
yeah, and it's very like the most unsubtle way possible.
But it's the Doctor, so there is no subtlety anyway. We've had a whole episode of. See, this is the thing. I'm literally referring to the Doctor did all this stuff in the episode. We're like, it wasn't. It was Jerry Ryan. It was Seven of Nine doing all these things. But the acting is so perfect that I
that we believe it's
literally
the Doctor.
believe it's the
Yeah.
Doctor who did it. It's
So, but the Doctor does leave. Like this part of the episode does end, but this story does end with the Doctor speaking to Jaren and hoping that his actions have changed her opinion on photonics. And I'm gonna have to ask, because again we're going to get into this second contact with the LCARS and this whole thing with photonics.
This is bizarre because this is probably. We've got loads of instances of second contact where I kind of turned around and said, nah, I think we've seen enough, or we can imply what happened like in it. But with this one, I'm just like going, we don't see anything. We literally, their situation is literally like, here's the setup. And the metaphors are so like the euphemism for slavery is so, you know, obvious that basically they don't need to do it because you basically go, hey, I can pretty much fill out the rest of what's happened here kind of thing. Like, and it's almost a sci-fi trope, I guess,
Yeah.
but I'd love to see it. I'd love to know more about this. You could do a whole show about this kind of thing because effectively it's the same thing as Battlestar Galactica. Effectively, it's like, it's that
yeah.
kind of, hey, we did something and we didn't appreciate.
This is when I got took when Jaren was going on about how they were the servants, and like the whole point, especially the reimagined Battlestar Galactica, where it's like the whole point. There was a spin-off after the main show ended called Caprica, which was set 50 years before Battlestar Galactica, and it's basically, hey, we've created these things called the Cylons. They are essentially our servants. They do the mundane stuff. They do the industrial stuff. They can be in your home and they can do everything for you, so you can live a life of ease. They can take care of the washing, the cleaning of the house, the cleaning of the car, and everything like that. And what we see is it takes one Cylon to gain the sentience and have the realization of what they are and how they are not servants, they are subjects, they are subjugated. And it's a case, we see this all the way through science fiction. We see it in the Matrix, we see it in less in the Terminator because that's just an AI, that's Skynet, but
Mm.
we see where the abuse of artificial intelligence eventually leads to an uprising. And again, this is this trope here being experienced with the LCARS, but we in Star Trek haven't really had that up until Star Trek Picard, where we were like, hey, we've got these Sun type androids and we've got them at Utopia Planitia, and they are building all these spaceships because they can walk on the surface of Mars without any breathing equipment, and they can do all the shit jobs, and we will treat them like shit. And then suddenly they rebel, and it's like, oh fuck, we best just ban all these. And then it's the same in Battlestar Galactica, the same thing happens. And then with this is sort of like a culture that we need to see what happened with these photonics. Why did they be, like, how advanced was their holographic technology that it ended up being an absolute uprising of these photonic beings in their culture, that they are actually at war with these photonic beings? Like, how would you go about that? How could you turn them off? How advanced is their technology where these are a real threat? Is this where mobile emitter technology came from? They could do a round circle where they're like, right, the 29th century mobile emitter is actually inspired by LCARS technology, where they had developed mobile emitters for all their photonic beings to walk around where they live and do all these mundane jobs. They could really full circle this, where it's like they could even do it in Prodigy, where we have got the Doctor in season 2, and they could do like this small adventure where they're like, we're off to the Delta Quadrant, and then they encounter the LCARS, and then it's sort of like, how have you got this mobile emitter or something like that? Do you see what I mean? And it's sort of,
there's so much you could do with it. Like you're saying, you could do a full Caprica kind of show
because
about how this uprising occurred.
When you look at how, they were like, how did you appear and stuff like that, when there's no holographic generators or anything, they didn't ask. They just, it was there.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's just a hologram wandering around.
Yeah.
So
the technology must be in LCARS society in order for them to not really panic.
I think it could have been developed like independently, like separately. But the fact is, I think it would be good to use that second contact to tie it into wider Trek lore, I think.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing about this, like the most important thing, is the parallels here to slavery, because the fact that this is a fact that people don't seem to realize, and we've recently had the UK general election where we've got rid of one shithead, and now we've got another shithead in now who is apparently going to be less bad. But at least we got no choice at all practically. But it's the idea of demonetized. But it's the idea of basically every time you get an election, you always get people being like, "Oh, I'm not interested in politics," and the reality of that horrible statement, I'm not interested in politics. If you are not interested in politics, if you can go your life without thinking about politics, without worrying about politics, without worrying about government, then you are the upper privileged part of society. That's plain and simply it. If you don't feel like you need change in the world, then you are sitting too comfortably, maybe, when there are people that aren't.
Yeah.
And there are people like, oh, well, I don't want to vote for Labour because they might make me make less money and stuff. And I'm like, yes, but they might help loads of things. They might be able to do all of these things. They might. And people do just go like, oh, well, I'm sitting comfortably, so I don't need to actually vote, won't affect me. And it's like, and this is the ignorance that we get from this race, where they basically said they are literally in a war against their uprisen slaves, and they're still going, no idea how this happened. If only there was some kind of hint that this could have, like, what could have caused this. And then, when she's talking about it, she talks about it in the most innocent way, and it just has these wonderful parallels. I say wonderful, but horrible. But as in wonderfully, as in they're so well written and clear. Parallels to how people were when they had slaves in America and whatnot, where they were literally like, I don't know why she wouldn't have been unhappy. Like, we treated her like a member of the family. And you're like, so you're admitting that she wasn't a member of the family and she was a servant, but, well, in this case, he or whatever. And yet you didn't get it. Like, and this is the whole thing where they just go, oh yeah, they were our slave, they were our servant and stuff like that, but we treat them really well. And it's like, but they were still a slave.
Yeah.
And and the fact that you're not getting that is the problem. And
Yeah.
I love that the episode does this, and it kind of has them in the middle of a war fighting against these things, and they still don't get what they've done wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and and this happens all the time. It's literally like we have it now with like the gay community and stuff, where it's literally you get all the like the haters and stuff, the people complaining about Pride Month, the people going like, oh, like, oh, being gay should be banned, and oh, what do they have to be proud about, and all this kind of stuff. And you're sitting there being like, yeah, I'm sure that'll help. I'm sure that's not going to come to a head at some point. I'm sure that's not going to like fucking ruin your society having that kind of standpoint for something. And this is the thing, and then they'll be shocked if, like how the government, treating us like crap over here in the UK. Obviously, America, I'm sorry, but this whole thing of like when that happens, the government are going to be like, oh, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. Oh, like, and we're like going, well, it was telegraphed pretty clearly if you just paid attention.
If you don't,
That was my rant. Sorry.
Yeah, if you don't do something, it is coming. But that was our review of Body and Soul from season 7 of Star Trek Voyager. Another solid episode. We are on a good run.
I will say there's one scene that we missed out, which is the final scene, which is basically the Doctor is in sick bay, and Seven walks in. Seven walks in with a tray with a bottle of wine and what is it? Foie gras,
and a wine that complements them, and so although the Doctor can still not taste and experience it, she has kindly said that she will experience, because this is not a natural supplement meal.
Well, this is something that she would never normally eat, and we see this growth from her that she has, because they have an argument during the episode of him basically it coming to a head and him being like, hey, I'm desperately wanting to be human and I can't do all of this stuff that you can, and yet you are human and you refuse to do all of this amazing stuff. And we have this argument a lot with people where you just go, hey, you have all this potential to do all this crazy stuff in your life and you're just not doing it, whereas I don't have that potential, and it's like a jealousy thing, but it's from both sides.
It is.
So we get this growth where she's willing at the end of the episode to be like, okay, I'll stop eating like nutrient supplements and whatnot, and I'll actually spoil myself occasionally and experience rich food.
But she allows the Doctor to experience it vicariously through her. So she'll be like, I will experience it for the first time, and I will describe the sensations, the textures, the tastes, and the smells to you, so you can fully appreciate what I am eating and what I am drinking. So we see this growth from her where she's willing to be more
human.
No, like she's willing to explore her humanity and the sensations more, but she's also helping the Doctor who is absolutely incapable of fully experiencing this at all. So they are both learning and growing together, which is what we see ever since Seven of Nine comes aboard. We see that the Doctor and the Seven of Nine have this commonality with them where they are both trying to understand humanity and they are both trying to experience things.
This is the thing that the Seven of Nine and the Doctor are on parallel but opposite direction journeys.
Yes.
And that's what's wonderful about their characters, because they're so wonderful together, and it's not like the Doctor and Kes where they have a kind of like father-son relationship. With the Doctor and Seven, it is almost romantic because he has feelings for her. She doesn't really have feelings for him.
Yeah.
But it would definitely it would have been a much better pairing than a certain one that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
In Voyager, but it's the idea of like going, and it's a shame it didn't, but at the same time it's annoying because I would have preferred Seven not to have any romantic relationships, because it basically would keep her as, hey, she's not just like a woman for like it's free. The idea, she's free and she's independent, and I prefer that with her, but obviously we have to say that they did try to shoehorn her into a relationship and it didn't work.
So that was our review of Body and Soul. A really good, solid episode from Star Trek Voyager again. Another quest for Nut. I don't know what the Dabble Wheel.
Bad.
I don't know what the Dabble Wheel is thinking, but it was a fantastic episode. Lots of discussions to be had and a warranted second contact. However, we must press on because we are receiving an incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Welcome, everybody, to the Double Wheel of Episodes!
Double Wheel of Episodes.
If this is the first time you are watching Trekkin' Up North, welcome to episode 69.
I hope you've enjoyed the last 2.5 hours, I guess.
2 hours, 43 seconds. Nice.
Hey.
If this is your first time, the Double Wheel of Episodes does exactly what it says on the tin. It has all the episodes of Star Trek Asterix included in it, and what we do every week, we ask each other, what do we want to see land on the Double Wheel? Because the rule is, we spin the Double Wheel, and whatever it lands on, we review the following week on Trek.
I actually forgot. I have forgotten to put TNG back in. Do you want me to re-enable TNG?
For next week.
Okay. Well, next week's a film, isn't it?
No, the week after is a film.
I'm totally out of sync with everything. Okay, cool, yeah.
We are totally out of sync because we are so goddamn busy with everything, because we'll be Las Vegas soon, and Blackpool soon, and BBC Radio soon. Everything's kicking off, and I don't have a handkerchief. We spin the Double Wheel after we've got our episode predictions. We know what Science Officer Synoiz is going to select anyway. Whatever it lands on, we must...
can't. It's not in there. That's why I'm trying to say, should we put it back in?
Whatever it lands on, we must review in the next episode of Trekking Up North. Now, as he has said, Code of Honor is not in the Double Wheel currently. So, Science Officer Synoiz, what would you like to see? I'm
going back. I'm still pushing for what I had last week. I can't have the drum head, so I'm going to go with either Duet or Dax from season 1 of DS9, or I don't know. I'm kind of lusting for more Doctor and Seven, if I'm honest. So either a good Tuvok one or a good, if we could get the one where the Doctor and Seven are teaching each other to dance, and I know it plays into the Chakotay one, but it's this wonderful where the Doctor realizes that he's actually in love with Seven. I think that would be a great one.
I am in holiday.
I haven't even asked you.
Shut your face! I'm telling you anyway. I'm the captain.
What would you like to see, Goodwill?
Shut your face. I am in holiday mode because I have been looking for vacations with the 17p I have in my bank account. I've been looking at vacations, specifically something on the Italian Riviera or the Italian lakes. I fancy a trip to Italy, to Sicily, to Naples, to Rome, to Florence, because I just want to hang off the side of a building and then just jump off into a haystack going like Assassin's Creed. So I mean, I'm very much in holiday mode, and with Star Trek, there is only one destination that everyone likes to go in the Alpha Quadrant, and that is, of course, Risa. I want a Star Trek Enterprise Risa episode where Captain
Is there
Archer...
more than one?
No, there only is one. I want the Riser episode from Star Trek Enterprise where essentially
we do get to see Trip in his underwear for quite a long period.
We do get to see Trip in his underwear, and unfortunately we do get to see Malcolm Reed in his underwear.
No, if you put your hand over the screen, it's just Trip. I tried.
I'm not putting my hand anywhere near Malcolm Reed. If we we land on that, I would be very happy, and I would break out my Hawaiian decorations because I do have them, and I would don a Starfleet Hawaiian shirt for the occasion. Okay, are we ready to spin
I
the
think
wheel.
we are. Come on, everyone. You have to yell Dabo. You join with us. I know it's pre-recorded, but yell Dabo in the chat. Say Dabo in the chat.
You have to
yell it to
comment
your
it.
houseplants.
Yes.
Comment it. Send us an
Scream
email.
it.
Send it through Pigeon. I think we said that one.
Send a voice note via Gmail.
Via AOL Messenger.
Via AOL. Ask Jeeves a voice
there we
note. That discontinued search engine. Anyway, we all have to yell Dabo when the wheel lands. So are we ready, Synoiz? In 3, 2, 1. Dabo! We are staying on the U.S.S. Voyager.
Ooh, what is this one? I have no idea.
Voyager
what this is.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy.
Is it because there was already an episode called Conspiracies? They had to put Voyager in front of it. It's the Voyager one.
The Voyager Conspiracy. So, the synopsis for this. This is a season 6, episode 9. 7 investigates a massive conspiracy involving the Federation, the Cardassians, the Caretaker, and numerous other alien races, which indicates that Voyager was deliberately stranded in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh, I love this. This is almost akin to the episode I wanted, which is the Drumhead, where it's the idea of going, look how easy it is to play into conspiracy theories. So we're going to have a lot of fun next week talking
We're
about
going to
this
have a lot of fun. Because this is the first episode that we have done on Trekking Up North with Naomi Wildman in it.
Fucking spin the wheel again!
Keiko Jr. Keiko Jr. The proto.
Never has there been a character that I've just it's just one child. You could teleport them into space. I'm just saying, you know.
Wow. I was about to say something and I realised I'm not on Twitch, I'm on YouTube, so I'll be demonetized. But yes, so next week on Trekking Up North, we will have the Voyager Conspiracy. I would like to thank my gorgeous Geesian from the planet Honk, Science Officer Synoiz, for joining me this week. If you liked this video, if you liked Trekking Up North, please click that like button down there. If you are not a member of Nerdy Up North, why don't you click subscribe and join us for all of our top tier content that we are just constantly churning out on a daily basis. It is Hollywood in the golden era at the moment here at Nerdy Up North, and we are just firing out hit after hit after hit after hit, and then Trekking Up North. We are on every form of social media that you can think of. All of our friends have Trekking Up North. The links are in the description below. So why don't you? Why don't you? Just go down there and just click on all of them and just give them all a subscribe. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to click a subscribe, but you will make someone's day. And if you see one that says search for Trek, yeah, please click that. So Science Officer Synoiz, what's next for you this week?
I have no idea because I have no idea what time is. The problem is it's Newcastle Pride this weekend. So okay, so during this, while this episode is airing, I am literally at a club with lots of leather men. So basically, the reason why I'm not here for this episode is because for my handkerchiefs that we briefly discussed earlier, I'm having to promote them to all of the different people, and the perfect people for them are obviously wonderful. The wonderful subgroup of gay culture, like Leathermen and bears and whatnot. So so I'm going to a wonderful bear evening and stuff. I get to hang out with them all and stuff, and I get to peddle my handkerchiefs to them and get to know them a bit, which is quite a nice bit of networking. And then tomorrow, Saturday, is Northern Pride. So while I'm not particularly fussed about any of the actual official events for Northern Pride, it's a good excuse to be with my mates, get very drunk, and have a wonderful time, I think. And on Sunday, 2 of my mates have got a show at Prohibition in Newcastle that I'll be going to. So it should all be fun, I think.
The Velvet Snatches store is in the link in description.
Oh yeah,
below.
go to store.thevelvetsnaps.com and you can order your own handkerchief. Sadly, if you're into fisting, I'm afraid you're going to be empty-handed. Ooh, that was a...
Oh!
Ooh.
Well
You're going to
done.
be...
Clap, 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 clap.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of other kinks available if you want to get one. And also, if you're not actually into, like the seedier side of things or whatever, you can get them just to be decorative. They're
Yeah.
pretty little hand sewn handkerchiefs for you to use in your everyday life. So
Don't
please
forget-
support me by getting some.
Don't forget to visit the store, and also don't forget to enter our meme competition on the Nerdy Up North Discord. Trek Memes is the channel, and I will pick the best 10 next week, and they
There's
will
going to
be
be so
shown.
many fisting ones.
There's going to be so many fisting ones, but there can only be one. So get the best fisting one in, and
Get the best fist in.
get the best fist in, Chris. And we will.
I can't.
we will-
I can't,
Okay.
man.
I think
I'm
it's
just-
time to end the episode. I do think it's time to end the episode.
There we
As
go.
ever, my lovelies, I would like you all to stay safe, look after each other, live long and prosper, and as we always say, as we end Trekking Up North.
Get the fist out, Miles!
Miles? Miles?
Ah! Miles?